No Man's Sky is going into its 6th year of life, and this 2022 feature review for No Man's Sky is coming in with an excellent year of content updates. The past 6 years of content updates have varied in quality, depending on who you are, but one objective thing that I'm willing to say right now is that 2022 has been a fantastic year. Whether it be the combat-heavy evolution that was the Sentinel update, or the pirate-focused Outlaws update that brought new ships, new stations, new star systems, or dropping just recently was the No Man's Sky Endurance update that brought improvements to freighters, a lot of quality of life fixes, some long-needed cosmetic changes, and a long laundry list of bug changes. Like always, you're in the LZ, here talking about the pros and the areas of opportunity for No Man's Sky in 2022 so far. If you're here watching this video and you put off No Man's Sky a long time ago because of whatever reason, maybe it wasn't the game for you, or some of the negative hype caught you off guard about the marketing or the launch or whatever, I just want to objectively say that No Man's Sky and Hello Games have completely turned the ship around long ago. As a matter of fact, 2022 has been quite the year that has left a lot of those problems and that bad discussion in the rearview mirror. And now with the anniversary drop of this particular update, Endurance brings in the game's 6th year, and it's still going on strong. As a matter of fact, I would pretty much venture to say that 2022 has been the most quality year for content updates out of all of the years previous to it. Funny enough, we come full circle because Freighters was added with one of the very first updates that the game got shortly after its controversial launch. Needless to say, it has been long overdue to see some refreshes or improvements when it comes to freighters. This update adds some little conveniences, some changes to inventory management, a facelift to some of the base building, and it's definitely high time that freighters got a little bit of attention. So it's definitely a welcome change. It's mostly cosmetic and not as operational as it could be, but for the level of content here, it is definitely welcome. The sum of all of its parts makes this update pretty much a long list of small changes with a convenient impact. When I say convenience, like, say for instance, when I land on a freighter, I no longer have to surmount a Rocky Balboa level of staircases. That's clearly hyperbole, but it was quite a run from the ship dock to the bridge of the freighter just to be able to do any of the things that you wanted to do on the freighter. Now there's simply just a convenient warp pad right there by the ships that will take you immediately to the bridge, which is refreshing considering the idea is that they want you on your freighters a little more often. I've hinted at it a few times already in this conversation, but quality of life is always welcome if it's taking the game in the right direction to any level, even if it's small. Addition of more multiplayer missions is always nice, though I would love to see those expanded upon greatly. We do have the expeditions, but those are, I don't think those expeditions have never really encouraged me to directly play with other players like I felt like it should. Expeditions are more about coexisting more than they are co-oping. Not sure if that's a word or not, but okay. It was pretty sizable an update to quality of life for base building too. A lot of new parts, a lot of changes in how you can manage your parts, a lot of convenience there. This is definitely the convenience update. And funny enough, I haven't really mentioned it yet, and I don't know that it was supposed to be the main focus of this Endurance update, but the changes to asteroid fields have been a long time coming. As a matter of fact, in my very first review for No Man's Sky, I remember complaining about how I just didn't like the asteroids, how they kind of look cheap, like a bunch of little turds floating around in space, and they would just kind of grow in front of you. Now, not only the distance that you can see these asteroids have been increased, the volume of them has been increased greatly as well. I don't know that they serve a giant function any more than they already have, but every time I come upon a thick asteroid field, I just have to fly through it. It's too tempting. I can't ignore it. It is just that good. If anything, probably my favorite addition in this update. Black holes got a long-awaited facelift as well. They still serve the same function, unfortunately, but they look so much better. They're much more photogenic. They're a little glitchy on the screen, though. The effect that they're using, I think, to bend the light for objects that are around them kind of glitches the outer edges of the screen, kind of making photo mode kind of a chore, but the addition of the large accretion disk is just very nice. So now I want to talk about some of the area of opportunities here that comes along with the Endurance update, but not exclusively to Endurance, but exclusively to No Man's Sky in general and this year, probably more related to things that Endurance didn't really do anything to address. And my first one is, does base building really need more attention at this point? We've been getting quite a bit of attention. I know the Frontiers update about a year ago, as a matter of fact, put together probably the biggest update for base building so far to No Man's Sky. The tiles were optimized. Everything was just, the menu was much better. The addition of extra parts. It kind of makes me wonder if we really needed more attention to base building. Now, I know if you're a base builder, you're probably going, yeah. But me, somebody who's not really base building a lot, or if you find yourself not really base building a lot in No Man's Sky, this is kind of an addition that maybe I think we're okay at this point, right? I think there's a lot of other areas in the games that we can focus on that is base building at this point. Quality of life has reached a pretty comfortable point. I think if we're talking about quality of life, I can tell there's a lot of base building aspects that still need improvement, right? I want to be able to build underground, and I will leave my bases and come back and see that the ground has gobbled up my base still. It's few and far between now. It's a little more rare, but it's still a massive problem that I think that could probably use more attention than an addition of more parts and greater sizes and things like that. Another thing that Endurance doesn't really address is long implemented foundation features that have been sort of lacking for years now. Things that have been added in previous updates that really could have used more fleshing out than certain other things like base building, for instance. For an example, you could be coasting through space and come across some anomalous object that doesn't really mean anything. Now, they've added more of these. This update adds the capability of adding more frigates to your general squad. These are the living frigates, but you can't land on them, and it's really hard work to get a hold of them. They're a little time consuming. A great addition, but not quite the addition that I think that I was looking for personally. As a matter of fact, when we're talking frigates are a nice addition, but they're another one of those features conceptually in the game that is completely, I think, lacking. It's really just a foundational thing that exists, and it doesn't have any meat to it yet. Like frigates, you can send them off on missions, they come back and bring you cool things, right? But some of these frigates, actually all of them pretty much, other than the special ones, like the Normandy, for instance, you can't land on those, but you can land on the regular No Man's Sky frigates. You can walk around on them. They have landing pads, and they have panels and interiors, and to me, that is something that I am hoping that they really, really flesh out. What if you could just jump in one and pilot it, like Star Citizen or something like that, a large ship that multiple crew members or your co-op squad can jump into you with. I know that I'm really begging and hoping for more future, but that's kind of the unfortunate thing that comes along with these updates, is that a previous update, the team will add something that is not very well fleshed out and then move on to the next thing that they're excited about without really paying too much attention to the depth of that thing that they just added. Endurance doesn't do a ton of that, which I'm really, really hoping they move the focus to. Another thing that Endurance got was that with the few of the things that it added, it didn't add a ton of functionality, right? We talked about the black holes being better aesthetically, but they aren't changed functionally, right? I don't feel like I have any incentive to jump into a black hole because it just chucks me on the other side of the galaxy in a random spot, and now I'm over there, and I have a broken ship part too now. Like, it doesn't really do anything other than put you in the same spot in the middle of the galaxy around the center, not around the center, close to the center, but, around it in this disk, in the circumference around the center. It just doesn't have much function. I would have loved to see some functional changes to the black holes while we were adding better aesthetic looks to it. And finally, there was another inventory change where it pretty much seems like everything that you have now, whether it be your person or your ship or your freighter, now has 3 levels of inventory. And now I'm wondering, are the inventory changes that we're making just a band-aid for the overall problem, right? We've gone from an inventory management type game to it just being a giant cluster. We have 3 levels of inventory now, actually 4 more when you count storage containers and things like that. It's all quite a bit. If you know what you're doing, it's kind of hard to get lost in a system like that, but I would really wonder how a newcomer to this process would perceive that once things, even just at an entry level, it could be a little confusing to navigate. I really think, as you know, I don't like presenting problems without a solution, but I really think that engine parts and upgrades and suit parts and things like that really should not be an inventory piece. I think all of those things should be removed from inventory in general, other than upgrades that you could apply. But I think that your suits and engine parts and all of those things should exist in their own little thing. There is a technology slot or technology slots, so I think that is like the second level of inventory. I think it would be a little less confusing and better if those things weren't necessarily inventory, but just equipment upgrade level things. Like I can go into my engine and apply a certain level of upgrades and things like that. It's the right idea for the inventory or for the technology slots on your suit or things like that. That I do like that, but it just kind of clogs inventory, and I think it's making an already kind of confusing problem worse by expanding inventory slots, growing inventory slots, and then adding other layers of inventory. It doesn't do a whole lot to fix what I think is a general inventory management problem that's growing. It's not an awful problem, but I think if we continue in this direction, at this trajectory, it could really be that. No Man's Sky has come an awful long way from the weird conversations we were having about it 6 years ago to now conversations that I'm seeing online that are saying, hey, Sean, you don't have to keep doing this. You really don't have to do it for free even. But, you know, it's been the way that things have happened for this entire time, and I am super happy for Hello Games to continue going on with this. That said, if this was helpful to your No Man's Sky experience, whether you have been here for years or just jumping back in, like and subscribe if it was useful, and see you again in the LZ in the next one.